You're listening to The Taylor Marshall Show, episode 104, on one of my favorite topics, Our Lady of Guadalupe. Howdy, and thank you for tuning back into The Taylor Marshall Show. This is the podcast for everyone who wants to create daily habits and learn enough theology to take their faith to the next level. And speaking of taking your faith to the next level, we're talking again about Our Lady of Guadalupe. I just got back last week from a pilgrimage to Our Lady of Guadalupe, and I want to share with you some thoughts and some reflections. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to the show. Today we're talking about Our Lady of Guadalupe, and I just wanted to share some brief thoughts and a little bit of a reflection on what we did. I hope to plan next week to interview some of our pilgrims who went with us to Our Lady of Guadalupe to tell you what it's like from a first-hand point of view, being there before the tilma of Our Lady of Guadalupe, also going to the site, the shrine, where St. Michael appeared in 1631. Amazing experience. And other places we went like Puebla, just to get you feeling what we felt when we were there as we were praying together, going to Mass together, praying the rosary together, and doing amazing things like eating amazing Mexican food, and in the evenings soaking our sore feet in the pool and having drinks together. Well, this was my second time to go to Our Lady of Guadalupe. In 2013, I made a vow to Our Lady of Guadalupe, and she brought that prayer intention to pass. In fact, she brought it to pass on the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe, December 12th. I had asked her, I said, if you would please give us 1,000 students in the new St. Thomas Institute, I will go to Our Lady of Guadalupe and personally thank you. Because I had already made Our Lady of Guadalupe the patroness of the new St. Thomas Institute. Why? Because St. John Paul II said that she is the star of the new evangelization, and I desperately want to spark the new evangelization all over the world and help people to know their faith and know their theology and know their Catholic philosophy, and to take up practices that will make them more and more holy and more in love with our Lord. So I asked Our Lady to bring us 1,000 students, and on December 12th, the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe, we hit 1,000 students. So I knew Our Lady was smiling at me, even winking at me, saying, all right, are you going to do it? So I signed up for a pilgrimage. In fact, I went with Scott Hahn in early 2014, and I went before Our Lady there in Mexico City, and I thanked Our Lady. And the biggest surprise that I had was, it was a very emotional experience to be there in front of this miraculous image. You really do sense that the Blessed Virgin Mary is present there in a special way. Like, we know that our Lord is present in the Eucharist, and sometimes you can sense that. And I know that the miraculous image like Our Lady of Guadalupe is not like the Eucharist, but I do really believe in my soul and in my spirit that Our Lady's present there in that sanctuary, above that altar, in a special way. So that hit me. Also, I realized how much I love Mexico and how much I love Mexicans and Mexican food and the culture and the people, and especially the devotions. Yes, there are secular pockets in Mexico. Yes, there are problems like there are in any country, but when you see the faith of the people and you see, grandparents and parents and children coming together on a Sunday afternoon to go to Our Lady of Guadalupe and eat popsicles and pray and go to Mass together, it really is beautiful. And I'm going to share a couple of the devotions that I observed, a new one this year for the Feast of the Presentation. The other neat thing that we observed on this pilgrimage is we were there just a few days before Pope Francis arrived in Mexico City. So the whole city was getting ready. They were power washing the churches. They were planting flowers. They were picking up trash. They were cleaning everything up and making everything look real nice. So that was neat. And just seeing all the billboards welcoming Pope Francis, I think every single payphone booth had a picture, an advertisement of Pope Francis on it, really inspiring compared to what we saw in America, United States. When Pope Francis came, there was, newspapers and stuff on TV, but nothing out in the public. And so it was neat to see a public display of devotion for the Vicar of Christ. I'm convinced more than ever, and I wrote this on my blog at taylormarshall.com just a few days ago, that I'm more convinced than ever that Mary leads us to Jesus Christ. I've been Catholic now for a while, and it's just the longer I'm Catholic, the more I understand in my mind, but even more I understand in my heart that Mary is the surest and the fastest and the safest way to know Jesus Christ, to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Mary, his mother, makes the best introduction. She is the microscope that magnifies, as in the Magnificat, that magnifies the various attributes of Jesus Christ and his message of love and mercy, the gospel. Also, having seen the tilma before and then seeing it again, I was impressed this time on how the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, to me, subjectively changed. It's my own subjective perception, but I could have sworn she looked different last time I saw her. This time, she seemed more colorful, and it seemed like the image was more alive, more fluid, almost like three-dimensional. I mean, obviously the image hasn't changed in 2 years. It's my own perception, but for some reason it seemed much larger and more alive and more colorful. So that was kind of surprising. You know, I thought I'd seen the miraculous image before, and seeing it again this time was almost like a new experience. The highlight of the trip, and a lot of the pilgrims who were with us asked me at the last day or as we were leaving what the highlights were. And either the highlight or one of the top 3 highlights was seeing my son Jude my 9-year-old son Jude celebrate Mass. No, he wasn't celebrating Mass, he was serving Mass, rather. And the first Mass he ever served was at Our Lady of Guadalupe before the image of Guadalupe at the basilica there, and that was just awesome to see him up at the altar. And Father Peter was great in helping him and teaching him and training him in that. Father Juan Diego, our chaplain, was celebrating that Mass. But Father Peter, if you're listening, thank you so much for preparing Jude and helping him along the way. So that was neat just to see my son. If you want to see a picture of him looking really cute, serving the altar at the shrine where Blessed Miguel Pro is buried. We went and visited the museum and the relics of Miguel Pro. We all got to lay our hands on the tomb of Miguel Pro where his relics are, and each of us got to pray there. If you want to see a picture of that and a picture of my son Jude serving in his little cassock along with Father Peter and Father Juan Diego, just go to taylormarshall.com, and the post is 9 Thoughts on Our Lady of Guadalupe. You can see a really pretty picture of a beautiful, glorious church with those 2 holy priests and my son there assisting them. Another neat thing this time around is I had Joy with me, my wife. Last time I was there, I made another vow to Our Lady saying I would return, this time with Joy. And of course, Our Lady was faithful and brought to pass my intention. So anyone listening, if you have a big intention, whatever it is, if it's health, if it's finances, if it's spiritual, if it's someone who has left the faith, make a promise to Our Lady of Guadalupe and be serious and say, look, Our Lady, pray for me. If it comes to pass, I will go to Mexico City before this image and thank you for bringing it to pass through the intercession of Jesus Christ. She's done it for me twice, and I'm going to keep asking Our Lady to help in that way. So Joy came, and that was fun. It was neat to travel with her. We haven't traveled much in the last several years because of all the children we're having, but it was good for her to come. She brought baby Margaret, who's almost 4 years old. That was a challenge, but we were all really proud of Joy. She hiked all the way up the Sun Pyramid with the 4-month baby. Jude came with us as well, as I mentioned. And so it was the 4 of us marshals, and then 43 pilgrims, most of which were from the New St. Thomas Institute. And for those of you that are listening, I loved hanging out with you guys. When you're on a pilgrimage like this, you're traveling, you're eating together, you're laughing, you're, praying, going to Mass together, and it's really an intensive time. And it's sad when you leave because you've made these deep friendships and these deep bonds together in this foreign land, and then you go back, to all over the world. We had some pilgrims with us. We had Neil, he was from Australia. We had a pilgrim from Panama and from all over the U.S. So again, thank you to everyone who came, and hopefully we'll do this pilgrimage again in a year or two. So if you're listening and you want to join us and go to Guadalupe, mark it down. Put this on your spiritual bucket list. One of our pilgrims named Kate, if you're listening, hello. She had a wonderful meditation that she received in mental prayer. For those of you that know the story of Our Lady Guadalupe, there was a Mexican man who was a recent convert in the 1500s. This is back before most of the Aztecs, the native Indians, had converted to Christianity. And he met Our Lady, the Blessed Virgin Mary, and there were a series of 5 apparitions. But in one of those apparitions, the bishop needed a sign to know that Juan Diego wasn't crazy. And so Our Lady showed him where, on top of a hill, where there were Castilian roses, and he cut those roses and he put it in his tilma, like his poncho, and carried it to the bottom of the hill. And Our Lady rearranged those roses, and then he carried those roses to where the bishop was, the bishop-elect, Zumarraga. And when he opened up his tilma, his poncho, and the roses fell down, imprinted on the cactus fiber cloth was the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And Kate said, I brought all my prayer intentions for people and situations, and when I was here, I realized I was carrying those like roses. And then Our Lady, when I was here, rearranged those prayer intentions, and then I threw them down in front of God the Father. And I thought that was really beautiful. That's really the purpose of a pilgrimage, is to take our own prayer intentions and the intentions of other people that we know and that we love, and to carry them and present them to God, to Jesus, through Mary. So, Kate, thanks for that beautiful reflection. And I hope it helps a lot of people as they think about bringing our prayers to God and how Mary can rearrange the flowers and make something miraculous happen. The devotion of the Mexican people as they prepared for the visit of the Holy Father, as I said, was amazing, very inspirational, great devotion to the office of the Vicar of Christ. And when we were in San Miguel is a location where St. Michael the Archangel appeared in 1631, exactly 100 years after Our Lady of Guadalupe. We saw all the people, all the natives, bringing baby Jesus dolls to the church to be blessed. And we learned that the reason that they're doing this is a devotion, because February 2nd is the Feast of the Presentation, when Joseph and Mary brought the infant Jesus to the temple. And so the local people bring these dolls of Jesus, and it's like they're being Joseph and Mary. They carry these images of Jesus to the local churches where the priest blesses them for the year, and when they carry them home for their private altar or for their devotions. So it was neat seeing all these people carrying these holy images of Jesus into the churches to be blessed in imitation of Joseph and Mary for this feast day. And they were doing it all week, which was great. The food was A+. A lot of people on a pilgrimage like this are like, I don't know if I'm going to get sick. Is it safe? And all that. We take care of all that. We partnered with 206 Pilgrimages, and they took care of all the food and our bus, which had a bathroom in it. Great hotel, great amenities. It was fantastic. If you want to see my favorite meal that I had, it's like this giant lava rock, and inside of it is cactus leaves and cheese and chicken and meat and pico de gallo and green verde salsa, and it's amazing. Inside of a real lava rock. Go to taylormarshall.com and just look for my 9 thoughts on Our Lady of Guadalupe. You can see this incredible meal. And plus, we had so many more. I didn't take pictures of all the food, but that was one meal in particular I thought was great. Another thing that impressed me is we saw pilgrims that were walking on foot for 6 days into Mexico City on the sides of roads. They were going to Mexico City to, of course, go see Our Lady of Guadalupe, but also the Pope was coming, and they wanted to see the Pope. Can you imagine taking off work, going with your children? We saw children as young as around 8 or 9, 10, and lots of teenagers with their family, with their friends, walking on foot overnight, sleeping on the roadside, walking into Mexico City so they could go see Our Lady of Guadalupe and see the Pope. Can you imagine yourself doing that with your family? No minivan, no bus, just your tennis shoes, no tent, just a sleeping bag, walking along. Pretty impressive. So that was neat. We talked to some of those those were the real pilgrims. We kind of, as Father Juan Diego, we talked to some of these pilgrims who were walking on foot into Mexico City. And then we're like, okay, let's go get back in our air-conditioned bus and go back to our hotel because we're not the real pilgrims. These people are the real pilgrims. So those are some thoughts there. I hope to interview some of our pilgrims that were on the trip with us in a future podcast, just so you can get the feel of what it's like. Besides from me, you hear from me all the time, to hear some different voices on what it's like to go as a pilgrim and to lay your petitions before Our Lady of Guadalupe, the patroness of the pro-life movement, the star of the new evangelization, the empress of the Americas. So I'll stop there. This is a shorter podcast, and I won't do all the tip of the week and the Latin word of the week and all that other stuff. But I will close by what I usually say, and that is, remember, our Lord Jesus Christ said that you are the light of the world and the salt of the earth. So go out there and be salty.